My tenant did over $50,000 in damages and then asked me for a character referral. When my wife 24F and I 28M were starting out, we had a little old rental house downtown that we leased to male students. When we moved out of the county for a job, I figured it would be easier to rent to one family rather than chase around 6 separate broke students for rent. The first family that we put in there turned out to be a bad choice on my part. Misty 40F was fine for the first 4 months or so. When I visited in person, the house was noticeably getting gross. They weren't taking care of things. This might have been somewhat forgivable, but then Misty stopped paying rent on time. To make matters worse, there was a plumbing issue that sounded expensive. The toilets were backing up, and sewage was soaking the carpets in the basement. The whole place stank. I didn't even know why. The plumber ran a camera down the pipes to see what was happening. He informed me that the clog was a result of a buildup of needles. You know, the kind one might use for substances. I opted to pay $1,000 to have them use high pressure to flush out the system. Unfortunately, my house was nearly 100 years old, so the high pressure destroyed the clay connector to the city's sewage system. The only way to fix it was to shut down a major residential road and dig to it for $30,000. Insurance wasn't in any hurry to pay either. I didn't have that kind of cash sitting around at the moment, and Misty was still in there. I wanted to evict Misty, but it would be a long process, and I knew that she would fight tooth and nail to stay, as she didn't want to go back to her parents, who lived just down the street. By this point, my house resembled a hoarder's home, and I suspected that certain things were being dealt there. Rather than evicting Misty, I called the health department because they were living with no running water and a porta potty that they rented in the backyard. It was gross. They also had 2 girls there under the age of 10. It took a visit from a team of sheriffs to get her out, and only well after the property was condemned. When Misty finally did leave, she left about 100 pounds of rotting meat on the front lawn. She also left the house a giant mess and stole many of my things. I was so relieved that she was gone that I almost didn't care. She was a major source of stress in my life and in my marriage. It ended up taking several hundred hours and over $50,000 to fix up the house. Eventually, insurance came through for part of it. But my marriage was not salvable. My wife divorced me, took half of everything, and now I live in a crummy 1-bed flat with part shares in all the properties I used to own. So to say I have a strong detest of Misty would be an understatement. Nonetheless, I tried not to be resentful about the situation, because being a substance sufferer and living in a condemned building is its own horror. There wasn't anything that I could feel good about doing to her. She was already doomed to live poorly based on her own choices. By this point in life, I felt like I was above petty revenge. Besides, she had 2 kids. Oddly, Misty had the gal text me to ask for a character referral for a new place since she didn't have anyone else. I was dumbfounded, but texted back a thumbs up. Maybe I could save the next guy. Eventually, I did get the call from the next guy asking about Misty. He was so rude to me on the phone. He was talking over me and talking down to me. He was an expert landlord doing his due diligence, etc. I tried to get my story about Misty in, but then I paused. I listened to him talk down to me some more, and then I waited until it was my turn. I told him, you know, Misty was great. I had some major plumbing issues, otherwise she'd still be with me. Also, she's got a cute family. Treat me with disrespect? Good luck with Misty! You 2 deserve each other. Misty got the place and thanked me. Then I never heard from either of them again. Petty me.